At this point, we will open up for public comments on the agenda items only. If you have a question about an agenda item, please come to the microphone, state your name and your town, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, if anybody has any comments on the agenda items. Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Everybody logged in? Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the following as presented. Personnel recommendations, unofficial board minutes for January 18th, 2018, non-resident tuition rates, budget transfers, and Marlboro High School equipment dispositions. Can I have a motion? Joanne, second. James? Any discussion?
Motion carried 5-0.
Teresa, you turned it off?
Yes.
Next item, MOA for the paraprofessionals. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Marlboro Central School District and the paraprofessionals as presented. A motion? Joanne, second. James, discussion? Okay, Teresa?
Motion carried 5-0.
Okay. Old business. Anybody have any old business? Back and forth discussion with the board. The board will take all the information in that we receive, and depending on the topics, if it's a personnel matter, matters like that are discussed during executive session. But we will get back to the community as a whole as to where we're at. With that said, obviously there can be no discussion about any particular students. That's very clear under FERPA regulations. So we will cut anybody off that's trying to talk about a specific student about anything. But general topics or statements you'd like to give, if you have written statements that you'd like to turn in, you can give them to Teresa and we'll all get copies of them. Again, if you have 3 minutes, you can speak your mind, be respectful, and limit to that time period. Also, you don't have to reiterate everything that everybody else has said, but if you'd like to, obviously it's your 3 minutes. But once the 60 minutes is up, we will be moving at that point to go into executive session. Okay? So at this time, we'll open it up for recognition of district residents. Kathy, you're up there, so are we ready, Lisa?
Yeah. Is Mr. Fedora want to go first?
Okay.
Considering the recent dismissal of Coach Ward, I wanted to inform the Board of Education of a situation that has greatly impacted my family. I'm writing this letter as a respected volunteer at the Touchdown Club, a lacrosse coach, but most of all as a concerned parent. I hope my testimony will encourage others to come forward as well and share their experiences they've had with Coach Ward. In 2012, my son Noah Federa was in the 7th grade at Marlboro Middle School. The modified sports programs were cut due to funding. My son weighed too much for Pop Warner standards. Noah's extra weight was a result of his young athletic build. To lose the weight was both an unhealthy and impossible standard. Noah was extremely determined to play football regardless of the barriers he encountered, and requested to play for the high school junior varsity team instead. Noah completed 2 physical fitness tests and confirmed his ability to withstand the physical demands that JV requires. As a result, Noah was granted permission to play. Noah has participated in multiple sports leagues and received the highest rank in Eagle Scout with the Boy Scouts. Per his experience with sports and extracurricular activities, Noah is very familiar with hard work, determination, passion, and courage. Noah used these qualities when he played varsity football for Coach Ward as a freshman. He had played on the team for 2 years and was excited to finally be a starter his junior year. Unfortunately, our family was struck with tragedy when Noah suffered a grand mal seizure after football camp and was diagnosed with epilepsy. Everything Noah had been working for since 7th grade was taken away in an instant. Noah's physician advised that football was just not a possibility. Not wanting to risk his life, Noah had to quit football. Noah suffered depression as a result of his medical condition, absence in football, and new medicines. Noah frequently expressed his desire to rejoin the football team, knowing in his heart he could have made a difference, especially at the section championship game the following year. Although Noah could not play football, he found another outlet to express himself. Noah was on the track team. He was also approached frequently by Coach Ward and was enticing him to rejoin the football team. After continuous unwarranted pressure by his superior, Noah agreed to meet with the team later that week, or that season. Unfortunately, Noah realized it was an unsafe decision and did not attend the meeting. Later that week, Coach Ward approached Noah again, to which he told my son that he was a piece of garbage for not coming to the meeting, and he wouldn't want anyone like that on his team anyway. My son has endured both physical and emotional battles due to his epilepsy and having to leave football. Coach Ward was a respected mentor in my son's eyes and completely crushed his emotional state with his disrespectful and inappropriate words. He attempted to put my son's life at risk and pressured him into making unsafe decisions so that his team may be winners again. As a parent, I am distraught that my son had endured such pressure and hardship from a once respected superior. As a coach, I'm appalled that someone would put the safety and life of a child at risk to win a game. I wish Coach Ward was as worried about my son's safety as he was about his legacy as a coach. I hope my letter has brought insight to everyone about one of the many examples of inappropriateness and intensity towards children. Thank you.
Catherine Siriello, I'm from Marlboro. In an effort to ask the board to follow their mission statement and with complete transparency, I'm issuing this statement, and I've distributed the questions I'm going to ask. I understand you can't answer them, but I'd like for you to discuss them. My first question is, was the athletic director and the board informed of the superintendent's intention to not hire Coach Ward, and do they have the support in this decision? Is there anything in Coach Ward's file that he has not signed or is not aware of? And as a taxpayer, I want your assurance that there is nothing in this that was used in this decision based on unsubstantiated complaints, because as a taxpayer, that puts the district at risk. Is there a correspondence policy for the staff, and is tone addressed? The reason being cited for not rehiring, as I understand it, is concerning 3 emails and texts. The first 2 were addressed because they were too curt. Tone is subjective, and unless you create a script for every administrator and every staff member and every teacher, you're going to have misinterpretations of tone. That's part of the technology. These emails were from players whose actions directly put themselves, the teammates, and the district at risk for not following policies that they were supposed to follow as part of being on this team. Does Coach Ward not have the right to address these concerns with firmness? Is he not the one that was responsible for the teammate and their well-being and the whole program, much less the district, for these actions? He has the right to be stern. I would hope that you would be stern with my son. Coach, is it the board policy to fire someone without a complete investigation, including talking to all the involved parties? Are you prepared to follow this precedent across the board with everybody? The third instance was an inappropriate response from Coach to someone who incited the discussion to where it went. And he was acting on the behalf of volunteers who had spent a lot of time, and he was just expressing requirements, and that's part of the athletic policy. What were his specific violations? As far as I can see, he was the only one that followed the written athletic code. The administration itself violated by not following the chain of command that they outlined in their code. In correspondence, he was simply portraying what he needed the requirements and his expectations of these people were. That's part of the code. His responsibility, the athletic code specifically outlines how a parent is to approach a coach. I think my husband would donate his 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, you have to wait till...
Good evening, members of the school board, Mr. Brooks, and members of the administration. My name is Sam Angeli, one of the many students athletes present this evening in support of our coach, Rich Ward. I just completed my 3rd year as a member of the varsity football program. I'm the quarterback of the team, and along with my teammate Matt, one of the captains. Matt and I will not inundate you with football this evening. We want to talk about the character of our football coach, team, and program. Coach Ward has been a leader and mentor to me. He has taught me to be a leader on and off the football field. Leadership in stepping up and taking control from the first whistle without hesitation as quarterback, having the team look to you and gain confidence, and inspiring others to reach their potential. Coach Ward has done this for me and hundreds of other student athletes he has instructed. Teamwork. In order to be winners, a team must be unified. Team first. A well-prepared team and players make plays. Everyone needs to play together. Coach Ward always makes sure our team is prepared for every game and encourages us to be the best for the team. Go fast, go hard, finish and win the day. Coach Ward reminds his players of this every day. Set a goal and keep sight of that goal, but always remember one thing, and that's to win the day. The small victories will lead to the ultimate victory. It's about being better than you were yesterday and learning. Coach Ward projects this to his players. A value not just for football, but for life. Lessons Coach Ward teaches student athletes goes beyond football. They say a coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. Coach Ward has positively impacted my life and the lives of numerous student athletes. We stand with Coach Ward.
You got to set me back to 3 minutes right there.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Anthony Pascal, and I'm a lifelong resident of the town, born and raised here. I would like to thank the school board and Superintendent Brooks for allowing public comment this evening. My wife, Sandy, was a 5-year school board member in the 1990s, so I appreciate the responsibility and service you all provide us. It's a great service. I understand that the topic tonight regarding Coach Ward is a personnel matter, and I respect that that matter is confidential, so I won't go into anything that's going to be questionable. 50 years ago this year, I graduated with the class of 1968. It's the first class that came from this building. Actually, we had our graduation right in this auditorium. I have the honor of being on the Wall of Fame out in the vestibule. I was second in the class. There was only 3 kids in the class, so I didn't do too bad. But we made it. So that honor tells you that my school accomplishments were more academic than athletic. In 1968, this was a brand new state-of-the-art facility, and Marlboro was a basketball town thanks to Jack O'Donnell, whom this auditorium is named after, and Ed Sagaris, who went on to become our school superintendent for 8 years. Baseball under Jack Crow was also a sport, and football was just sort of an afterthought. All those kids at that time usually weighed about 120 pounds, and there was no weight room. So we did basketball, track, and other sports, but football was important and still is important. Since 1968, the coaching techniques really have not changed, but the standard by which the coaches are judged has. Yes, times have changed dramatically in my lifetime, and maybe not for the better. Results are obtained by coaches who inspire kids to do better, in many cases taking an average athlete, much like myself, and making them become the best they are capable of being. The point being here is it takes a certain mentality, a certain drive and fortitude and intensity to be a winner. to be successful in athletics and life. That never quit, stay in the fight attitude has been instilled in many athletes by caring, concerned coaches. Whether our kids are in athletics, the drama club, the band, chorus, whatever they participate in, they need to stay focused, and it takes a special teacher and coach to do that. I have known Rich Ward all of his life, and I've known his family all of my life. Coach Ward is successful, and his teams and football program are successful because of his intensity and his strong desire to teach and to win. And sometimes intensity does bother people. I ask the board and administration with the spirit of forgiveness and reconciliation to give Coach Ward the opportunity to continue as varsity football coach at Marlboro. I am confident that you have the knowledge to set standards and conditions for the coach, and you will allow his reappointment to happen. Please. Thank you.
Good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the board, Mr. Brooks, Mr. Malazzo, all the administrators here for allowing me to speak tonight. As Sam alluded to in his statement, my name is Matt Jackson, and we are the captains of the 2018 varsity football team. This past season, we have had much success on and off the field, but I'm not really here to talk about football tonight. Football is just one aspect of my life that comprises who I am and the values by which I live. Many of those values I share with Coach Rich Ward, which compels me to show my support for him tonight. I want to talk about 4 of those values specifically: education, respect, hard work, and responsibility. I'll start with education. Anybody that knows me can tell you how important my schoolwork is to me. Since day one, Coach Ward has always stressed the importance of our education and that we are students first. Scholar, athletes. This past season, Coach Ward called me into this office. He noticed that a kid was struggling, and he asked me to assist this kid in a subject in school. I'll add that this kid was not on the varsity team. He was on the JV level. But that just shows how Marlboro football isn't divided varsity, JV. It's one program. And Coach Ward cared about this kid enough to ask me for my help. Football is stereotyped as a dummy sport, but the mental preparation and strategy that is needed are almost as grueling as the physical requirements. You need just as much intelligence to play football as you do to play chess. Respect for parents, teachers, coaches, teammates. Other people we may meet, because we represent not only ourselves, but our families, our school, and most importantly, this great town of Marlboro. Hard work. Very little in life is given to us. We must work hard every day with maximum effort and passion to achieve our goals and succeed on and off the football field. The daily grind is necessary because you will never get anything you haven't worked hard for. Like Sam said, win the day. Not just a football value, a life value. Responsibility. Today's world is ever so changing. It's a lot different than some of you grew up in. It's a lot different than my brother who was in high school 10 years ago. Coach Ward understood that. He called in Orange County DA Dave Hoovler to talk with us about the dangers of opioids. Again, going beyond his duties as head football coach. Coach Ward has been an important person in my life and the lives of my teammates. He's a positive role model I've been fortunate to have in my life. I respectfully ask that you take into consideration these comments, as we are more than just kids. I'd like to finish with a comment made by Mr. Brooks. You were quoted in the local paper saying we would find a great coach with the input of the students and the parents.
Matt, the time's expired.
Well, here we are, and we stand with Coach Ward. My coach, our coach,
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to ask that we try and limit that because it's going to eat into the time that we have for speakers, please. Tracy.
Thank you for your time tonight. I'm here tonight to speak and ask the superintendent of schools to reconsider and recommend Mr. Rich Ward as varsity football coach for the upcoming 2018 Marlboro Dukes football season. I have questions, and although you may not be able to answer the questions publicly, I am asking the board to please consider these questions while in executive session. I feel the answers to these questions may raise doubt for you, thus encouraging you to reconsider. Please understand that this decision is affecting a large number of students and community members. I believe in this program. I believe in this coach. Coach Ward came to Marlboro in 2010 and had a vision for football. He has made an impression on past, present, and future Marlboro Dukes football players. I'm encouraging you to read the many letters that were given to you that show the impact Coach Ward has had on football players and their parents, from the youth program on up to the varsity level. I ask you, have any of you ever had a coach or a teacher or a mentor that has had a positive influence on your life? Coach Ward has been that person for many players. He has given many hours to be there for his players. My concern is that many are only seeing the negative. How many have really taken the time to see the positive? What policy was violated that would lead to termination or non-recommendation? Is there a Board of Ed policy with clear guidelines outlining how teachers, coaches, parents, and students are to communicate? If no policy was clearly violated, then how are we to say that a coach should be reprimanded and not recommended due to a text between adults? I am concerned that we are spending so much time discussing an incident that warrants a warning, instead of the Board of Education working to create a policy. Aren't there greater issues plaguing our students? When you think of the number of issues that may be affecting our students, issues that are much more serious, how do we justify an inappropriate text meant to be between adults as being the final straw? We have students who may be experiencing poverty, foreclosure of their home, a parent losing a job, no adult supervision in the home, a family member who may be ill, a family member who may be affected by the opioid epidemic or mental illness. Why is this a priority of this board? How do we look at ourselves in the mirror and say we've done a tremendous job when we are taking away a person who's been consistent for these student athletes? Some of them have worked with Coach Ward for 3 years. Let's remember all the good that Coach Ward has done over the years to build this program. This vision was a goal, and the athletes in the community are seeing the rewards. Every athlete who is playing on that field or student who is watching that game is seeing the results of a vision and a goal that was set and being met. We must all admit that we have made choices and may have done things that we regret. Ask yourselves, will you as a superintendent and as a board who was elected to represent this community, will you regret this decision? I will answer for the new players and the returning players who have had their hopes shattered by this lack of a recommendation. Yes, you will. I ask that you don't let this decision of not recommending Coach Ward be something you regret. Let's use this opportunity to create a Board of Education policy with communication guidelines that will be used by teachers, coaches, students, and parents. Go Dukes.
Hello and good evening. My name is Ron McDonald and I'm currently a freshman at Marlboro High School. This past season I played JV football. I'm returning this year as a quarterback and a captain. We are here tonight to help Coach Ward. I would like to share a text message that I sent him last Wednesday night. Hey Coach, it's Ron McDonald. I heard about all that's been going on regarding Marlboro football. I'm truly devastated to hear that you might not be coaching Marlboro next season. I first started hearing rumors about it on Monday night and cannot sleep that night. I remember when I first started playing football in 2nd grade, and we were there as a coach. You are such a great coach, and you have benefited this program tremendously. I do not think it is right for the school board to remove you of your position, especially considering all you have done for the community and the players. Coach, you mean a lot to me. You helped introduce me to football, and for that, I am very grateful. I love playing football so much that words cannot describe the way I feel when I play. This whole off-season, I cannot think about much else than getting back on the field during the summer camp. I love how you don't take anything from anyone, and how in a town like Marlboro, don't get caught up in political stuff and let it affect your team. Coach, you are different than most other coaches, not just in the fact that you win more than the rest, but that you care a lot about your players. You always told me that if I needed anything, I could come to you, and that goes outside of just football. Most coaches only want to talk to their players about football, but you talk to us as people about much more. I can tell you wanted us to succeed as players, but more importantly as men. I have learned many things about football from you, but life as well. One of my goals before graduating high school is to help bring a state championship home to Marlboro. When I imagine in my head, you are there handing us the trophy in the dome. I can't imagine it any other way. I'm praying you return as a coach to Marlboro football, and football will not be the same without you. With that being said, we are hungry as ever. You motivate us to be the best we can be. I'm going to fight for you just like you have for me, and I'll never give up on you because even in my lowest moments, you haven't given up on me. I will be there in that board meeting February 1st. Even with all this said, I can never explain how much you mean to us and how big of a loss this could be. Coach, I'm confident you will return, and I wish you the best of luck. One of the things he said in his response to this that stuck with me was that there will be stumbling blocks along the way. but don't just step over them, leap over them. I would like everyone in this room to realize that we all make mistakes once in a while. Coach did make a mistake, but considering all he has done for the program, a minor mistake such as this should not get him fired. In regards to the situation, this is football. Words are just words, and sometimes you have to be mentally tough. He has positively impacted so many lives in the community. Before he arrived here, Marlboro football was struggling, and now look at all the championships Coach helped us win. I would like to thank the school board and our superintendent, Mr. Brooks, for letting me speak. Most importantly, all of you in the audience that came out to support. If I could leave you with one thought, it is that Rich Ward is not just our coach. He is our mentor, teacher, and most importantly, a true friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaq. Am I allowed to time out halfway through? My name's Todd Diorio. Many of you guys know me. I'm a third generation. Grew up here. My grandfather, my father, myself. Second generation football player. Played under the Burkett era in '83 when he would have probably been fired after the first year there. That's when you were allowed to actually get physical and put your hands on kids and teach them the way we thought they should be taught. I'm proud that my son's a third generation player. I've been a volunteer coach for years here. My father actually started the Marlboro youth basketball program over 40 years ago with Snooky Ward and Mr. Poltridge. I've enjoyed my coaching, football, baseball, and basketball. I've got, just besides the sports, I'm dedicated to this town. I mean, I look out for everybody as much as I can in this town. I run the laborers union. Right now I have about 700 guys in the construction industry that are laborers. Out of 700 guys, I represent 4 counties. That's a lot of towns, a lot of cities. I have over 100 people that I brought in from this town. Many of them football players. I counted it up just driving here today. There's over 40. I have a kid last year that, played on the team with Richie. If he can make it playing with Richie, Richie makes him mentally tough. He came with me. I interviewed a kid today that played that I'm probably going to take in. I know Vinny Garita is not going to college. He's going to come with us next year. So we try to do as much as we can for this area. But I'm Coach Ward. Coach Ward, I grew up in a neighborhood with him. They don't know the soft side of Coach Ward and the caring that he is. They just see when somebody's walking the track, they see Coach yelling at these kids. The things he's done has been great, and we'll run out of time to speak about how many good things he does. Things haven't been perfect. None of us is perfect. Coach Ward has made his mistakes. I'm probably one of the few people in this room that can actually sit with Coach Ward and have a real down-to-earth talk. I can tell him when he's wrong. We argue about it a little bit, and that's what our friendship is. I talk about my son. My son Christian plays. He's hard on my son, and I'm fine with that. That's what I want him to be. He said you have to be held to a higher standard. My son's the type of kid that needs to be kicked in the ass once in a while. Excuse my language. Don't put it in my file. I'll have to fire myself. I'm asking you guys. I mean, football is important in this town. The old timers come out. I read every letter that was written. I appreciate the board. Some of you guys, we started off on bad terms. We had a guy from my office ran for school board. So there was a little tension there. Joanne, we've had some tension, but everybody listened to what I had to say, and they responded to me, and I totally appreciate that. But the complaint, more importantly, it bothers me, didn't even come from a parent of the kid that got the text. So I think everybody needs to know that. And, I'm not going to throw stones here. We're trying to keep it professional. We ask you to keep an open mind like I asked. And this town needs Coach Ward back. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I have the greatest honor to speak on behalf of the football team, coaches, and especially Coach Ward tonight. Coach Ward is not just like any other coach. He is family, a brother, and we share so many great memories and moments with him. He is like a second father to us football players. He is the greatest man I've ever met. He has put in his life for this football team. He has built this team to become successful and victorious, but it is not just all about football. Coach Ward teaches us respect, discipline, love, courage, sacrifice, and dedication. How to keep pushing even through tough times. He taught us to be a family. Everyone that comes into this building tonight knows how much Coach Ward is family to them and knows how much they love him and support him through this tough time tonight. And tonight is a rough night, I have to say, for all of us and Coach Ward. I have known Coach Ward for a couple of years now, and I have to be completely honest that I have never met anyone so dedicated to their work, players, coaches, and he strives for everyone to become better as a person, teammate, family member, brother, and he is always trying to prepare us for the future because life is hard. And he knows that, and he does everything possible to prepare us for our lives. And I wanted to say I love this team. They are my brothers, they are my family, on the field and off the field. And I love you, Coach Ward. Everyone here loves you and supports you. For the coaches and teammates, we are fast, physical, fearless, and we are family.
Serial letter continues. Do you feel that determination is an appropriate response to a parent complaint about curt emails and the same language that is readily seen on social media by both students and people associated with the district? Are you prepared to treat everyone with the same standard? How do you feel this has affected the morale of the faculty, staff, and other coaches in the district? Given that the superintendent has exercised his right to circumvent the athletic director in making this decision, I would imagine it could create a lot of mistrust among the staff, and that is sure to affect the learning environment for every student of the district. Is your staff motivated to do their best and protect themselves from the next complaint from a parent? I am asking you to look at the players and the families in this room. They spent 3 to 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, for 4.5 months with this man. They spent 3 to 4 hours a week with him in the off season. Ask them who their coach is, they'll tell you. Should you not teach these boys, not only do we take responsibility and learn from our mistakes, that mistakes are just that, mistakes. No person is perfect. In conclusion, you have been given, you've been given a book of letters so that everyone gets their say. Please read them. The students deserve that. They've worked hard and they want their coach back. It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in. Odeas. It also takes courage to look at all the facts and make sure you're doing the right thing. A brilliant coach's job and 8 years of service, the hard work of the boys in front of you and the ones behind them, the most successful football program in Section 9 and the morale of your staff and students is on the line. I know there is a belief that no one person makes a program. The history of Marlboro football tells a much different story. People are not expendable. He is not expendable. Do the right thing. Make the disciplined suit. Does the suit fit the transgression? Be fair. Do not hide behind the fact that you can do it. Just because you can do it does not mean you should do it. Thank you.
My son plays under Coach Ward, and Coach Ward is Coach Ward. People will always have an opinion about him, either through experience or hearsay. I know him, I see him, I talk to him. My son sees him, my son talks to him, and my son loves being coached by him. My son and his friends are currently at a loss. We took away their mentor, their guidance, their leader, the person they look to for support, motivation, dedication, a person who never fails them but continuously challenges them. You took away part of their family. These boys and Coach Ward are together for months and months at a time, for hours and hours a day. They play for him, and they win for him. Coach Ward doesn't say what people want to hear. He's tough. He's determined. He has his mind set on a goal. He isn't cruel. He isn't mean. He's a passionate man. I ask, as Matt was saying before, Coach Brooks, that you stated in the paper that you would let the parents and the students in the community have a say in who is going to be our coach, and we want Coach Ward as our coach. Thank you.
My name is Jen
husband's philosophy of football. I want to take this opportunity to state my football coaching philosophy and make clear some misunderstandings that may be out there in the eye of the Board of Education. I believe there is a gap in the understanding what we are trying to accomplish as a program and how we can operate as a unit. In football and in life, you want to get better every day. There's no room for complacency or looking back at what you have accomplished. Looking in the rearview mirror does not give you a clear picture of the path that lies ahead of you. Every day there's an opportunity to get better. However, it does not mean that life will unfold the way you choose to. There are setbacks, frustrations, doubts, mistakes, fears, and defeats, and there isn't a human being alive who has immunity to these setbacks. I will have them, you will have them, and if you do not think you will have them, you are not seeing a clear enough path ahead of you. Some say the most successful people have failed their way to success. The people who fail are usually the ones who will achieve success in the long run. In my opinion, many people are afraid to fail and to push their limits so that true success can be achieved. The comfort zone is a term that we use amongst the Marlboro football program because by staying in this zone, true success can never be achieved. How we strive to reach this level of success is my responsibility as a leader and head football coach of the football program. I believe there is a great secret that many leaders fail to understand or ever gain respect for. I believe the secret is it's not about you. It's about making other people better. Leadership is more about the trust you've earned than the authority you've been granted. I believe you earn the right for people to follow you and giving people amongst your group the knowledge and ability to maximize their talent. Being in a leadership role is one of the greatest gifts I could have ever asked for because it is far more important than the outcome of a football game. The ability to be a leader and a great leader is not an easy task, and I do not take it lightly. I believe too many people just look at the outcome rather than the process it takes to get to the culminating point or activity. The culminating point for Marlboro football is Friday Night Lights. That 2-hour period is the smallest period of the process of building great leaders of character and what we call the process, the grind. The grind is where every effort, extra hours, true love, and passion occur, not only towards each other, but to something greater than oneself. It is, in my opinion, where champions are made. We push one another hard, we grind it out, and we put terms like commitment, perseverance, dedication, 48+ minutes to the test, and not on the back of a t-shirt. Because the standards we set for ourselves in preparing are often higher than what we necessary to simply win the next game. We almost never leave the grind satisfied. In a nutshell, we fail our way to success due to the demand we place on ourselves.
Sorry, Jim, the time's expired.
Really?
My name is Laura Hunter, and I'm a resident of Marlboro, and I'm a single mom. And the reason why I say that is because as a single mom, sometimes we have to entrust our children to a community, and I've done just that. I entrust my son to Marlboro's football program, and I trust my son to move forward. Not just for the football season, but throughout my son's entire time at school. This program that Coach Ward has created and taught and continues to teach my son and his teammates are life lessons. Coach Ward's program has taught these players that there is something bigger than football, and that he's taught them that there is something bigger than just themselves. It's taught them hard work, integrity, and as you can see, loyalty. With all due respect, I think we've all said something and made mistakes in our life that we regret. And I think that Coach Ward has made a mistake and he apologized for it. And that's just another life lesson that we could teach our children. He's accepted responsibilities for what he's done and he apologized for it. He's a great leader for that and he's teaching our kids to do the same thing. So tonight I'm standing here in support of Coach Ward. And I'm also asking that Coach be reinstated as the head coach of Marlboro football team for the 2018 season.
Good evening. I'm going to finish. Steve Jennison, Marlboro. We cannot afford to settle in complacency. We do not use these terms as threats. Our message is clear because the world is a competitive place. To compete at an elite level, you need to train at an elite level. Look at the level of success. This program achieves achieved on more importantly off the field in the classroom. We are leaders in the state, and that cannot be denied. However, it can be attributed to learning the grind. I believe through the process, most of the players who have gone through our system come to an understanding of this process, but also welcome this process as well. It is sometimes not fun, and if you want to be in it just for fun, you are setting a player up for danger. I believe the process or grind develops leaders for our society by immersing them in challenging environments in which they must overcome adversity, because that's the best way to forge the vital characteristics so essential to future leaders of America. My program stresses challenges and adversity that are integrated into the Marlboro football experience by design. I also believe anyone achieves success and accomplished through traits when their conditions are pleasant and predictable. Only the best, only those with character remain unflappable and sustain high quality performance and attitude when the conditions deteriorated and are unpredictable. I believe that we must try to create these unpredictable environments and practice them. If we do not believe in these values, then I believe irreparable damage would inevitably occur. On the positive side, the system that we have in place is extraordinarily successful, and I'm extremely proud of that. We have failed our way to success by grinding together. At a point I'm stressing to you is to please educate yourselves on the process rather than making assumptions that Ward is a yeller and a screamer with no purpose or direction. Everything we do has a purpose, and after reading and hopefully taking this letter to heart, I hope you can gain some insight onto what the objectives may be and how it may be achieved. Something that has not been touched in this letter and is the most important part of the grind is the safety of our athletes. My primary responsibility as a coach and teacher of these fine young men is to educate them through adverse situations so when Friday Night Lights comes, they are knowledgeable not only for the safety, but for their fellow teammates. Does the Have Fun philosophy talk about player safety? It absolutely should, because football is a physical sport that requires all players not only have an understanding of the scheme and assignments, but the burning desire to perform and be sold on one page, which in turn will limit risk. I look at these young men on the football field as if it were every one of them as my own son. Football needs a tough love approach because we can never limit all the risk, but being prepared mentally and physically can certainly limit them. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Can I get all the time that John Cantoni took over the years when I was sitting there?
We don't have all night.
My name is Jessica, and I'm from Marlboro. My story is a little bit different. We're not from Marlboro. We moved here a year and a half ago. Before moving here, I actually interviewed Coach Ward. I was in a predicament. We came from a school district that went from being one of the top football teams in New York State to being a field that I was afraid to put my son on. And I was afraid to put my son on that team because our coaches stopped. They were not allowed to discipline. They were not allowed to take a kid off the field. It was all about making everyone feel pretty. And that's not what football is, let's be honest. Someone's going to get killed out there. I personally, this is killing me. I'm watching a room full of adults more concerned with what one adult said to another than, you know what? When my son was new, Coach Ward came to me and said, hey, Jess, your kid, he's getting along great. He's making friends. He's doing well. Now, I also had a daughter that went into the elementary school at the same time. And I had told her teacher several times, hey, how is she doing? Is she adjusting well? And I don't know. I haven't really noticed anything. And then it came out that she was having a problem with bullying. And I wrote an email to the teachers as well as the principal, and I CC'd you, Mr. Brooks. And I didn't get a single reply. We're more concerned with football and what one adult says to another than an elementary school kid getting bullied. That is so sad to me. Truly. That breaks breaks my heart. And it should all of you as well, because it could have been your child. Now, my kid does fine in football, okay? But when we were in Walk Hill, he was on the field. He never came off. He played offense, he played defense, never a problem. We came here, and I tried to talk Coach Ward into putting him on JV. I'm so sorry. I didn't want him moved up early because he didn't know anyone here. I didn't want him to be the new kid in 10th grade that came up and automatically had a spot. And Coach Ward assured me he'll be fine. And you know what happened? He sat out almost at the season. And that was okay because he had a lot to learn. And he had to earn the respect of his team. And he did. But that's all thanks to Coach Ward. Coach Ward did that because he took the time to make sure that he was doing the right things. And that's what needs to be seen because that's the man that he is. Thank you.
Your husband earlier, and he called me back. Would you answer this question for him? Would he take the job back if he would? I believe so. What does he think about the support here? What do you think about it?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Superintendent, my name is Coach Alan Afuso.
Here's your guy.
Currently a coach on the varsity staff, and I'm looking forward to returning with you as well. I'm also a substitute teacher.
Did you want me to give that one?
Thank you for that.
No comment right now. All right.
I came from another district, and a lot of folks that I spoke to this evening spoke of a lot of topics that I was going to speak about. But in light of time, I respect everyone else. I won't go really over it, but I'd like to touch on a few points that I think are relevant. The one of them is mediocrity. I came from a school district.
I think they'll do it tonight.
Record for about 7 years. Battling against
Thanks for your time. I do understand.
State chairman several times. That coach is applauded. And he had to leave for personal reasons, but it was wonderful. He had the backing of the board, the backing of the superintendent, the backing of the parents, and the respect of the students. The next coach that came in was a very strong coach, outstanding coach, did not have the backing of the board, did not have backing of the superintendent, and did not have the respect of the backing from the children or from the parents. And that bred like cancer throughout the team. And within 2 years, he was asked to leave. Not for his efforts. His efforts were absolutely applauded. He gave everything he could to the school, everything he could to the students, just like our Coach Ward has done. What they did was, they did a search for a new coach, and they settled for mediocrity. In my opinion, again, that's just my opinion. The team in 08, first time in the history of the school ever that they had a non-winning season. Moreover, it's not about the wins and losses per se, but it really was about what the children learned on the field, what the parents learned from that program.